Welcome back to another installment of Friday Q&A. I hope you're all excellent. As always, thank you so much for this week's questions. And if you have questions for next week's Q&A video, please do not hesitate to put them in the comments. I've got the PRS DGT in my hands. A massive thank you again to Ray for loaning this to me for the last month, 2 months. This one has to go back home soon. So I'm giving it another spin. And to everybody out there drinking a cup of tea, my T-Rex mug is coming in handy today. So let's answer some questions. Of course, if you want to sign up to my Patreon or you want to buy some Ragdoll music, links are in the video description. Let's do the questions. Straight into the big stuff. Am I working on a solo album? I'm not, but I am always in the process of writing material. I've thought about this several times. If it is something I'm going to do, I would say it won't be something that will happen this year, maybe next year if I get around to finishing some material. You know, as much as I spend time on this channel playing my guitar and, you know, doing instrumental guitar things, I'm actually not a gigantic fan of instrumental guitar music on its own. I much prefer music with vocals. So I spend a lot of my time, writing music, thinking of the context of it having vocals on it. So that's kind of why I tend to, focus on writing stuff for Ragdoll. On that note as well, are we working on some new music? We have been working on new music for a couple of years now. This whole year has kind of thrown all our well-laid plans to rest, as you would expect. But I've been doing some work with Ryan over the last couple of weeks, and we have been kind of like rewriting a few of the melodies and some of the lyrics for some of the songs which we're getting around to tracking. So we're basically just going in and doing a really intensive pre-production on some of the songs we've already tracked, like guitar, bass, and drums for. There's 7 of those done. So we're just kind of revisiting some stuff now that we're in a kind of just different space than when we started writing this stuff. So the wheels are turning, they're clicking over very, very slowly. So, if we do get ourselves into gear, I would love to release at least another single by the end of the year, if not at the start of 2021. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with music stuff. I tend to write like 2 or 3, riffs or melody ideas per week and just catalog them on my computer and stow them away. So there is a lot of music kicking around because, you pick up a new guitar like this and you play something and the next thing that happens is, a riff or an idea pops out. So I just try to catalog all of them, and I really should get around to finishing a bunch more stuff. In the meantime, though, let's hear the bridge pickup on this. Alrighty, on the topic of music, this question was asked last week: why isn't there any Ragdoll music on Deezer? I checked, and our entire back catalog is on Deezer. It's on all the streaming platforms. So if you want to go and stream the entire Ragdoll back catalog, you can go and do that on your service of choice. Of course, if you do want to support the band, go to our Bandcamp page and purchase the music directly from us. Like I said, there's a link in the video description. And I guess tangentially related to that, would I ever think about doing a kind of viewer shred collaboration? I said I'm not like the world's biggest fan of instrumental guitar music, even though I spend so much time noodling and doing instrumental guitar music-y things. That's kind of how I feel about shred collaborations as well. They're like dime a dozen nowadays, which isn't to say that the people playing on them aren't amazing or some of the stuff people are playing is not amazing, but they're just not my favorite thing. That's why I haven't done one. But I will put it out there. If there's some of you out there who want to play over the guitar backing for, say, the Ragdoll song Rust, and you want to do some stuff in C Phrygian dominant, I will make that backing track available. I'll put it up on the next Q&A or something like that, and you can all just have a rip over it and send me your stuff, and I will edit that together. Maybe shred collab isn't the right word. Maybe it'll just be like a kind of, a fun jam session, so you can play whatever your style is. If you don't want to shred over it, if you want to make weird bleeps and bloops with a synthesizer over the backing track, you could do that as well. It's not just a strictly like do 30-second note sweep picking stuff over it. So if that interests anybody out there, you know, like I said, not the biggest fan of shred collabs, but I am the biggest fan of actually interacting with the people who take their time to watch these videos. So we do it, and I think Rust would be a good one because I do have the entire solo section with Ryan and Cam playing on it recorded really well. I could cut that up and make a pretty cool track. Let me know. Alrighty, why do I have 3 ADA MP1s? You saw a video during the week on why I have 2, and because you can run 2 together, that's kind of fun. But my thinking was this: I have an original MP1 that I've had for years and years. It actually was my dad's original MP1, so that one's going to stay like a museum piece and stay in the rack and not get touched. I bought 2 because I want to modify one, and there's several different mods you can do. So I want to do the 3-tube mod to one, and then I got a really good deal on them, so I couldn't resist picking up an extra one. There's no real big plan with that. On that note about all the gear you see in this room here, is it all new or is it all used? Most of the gear that I buy is used. I just kind of hunt around, you know, stuff like Marketplace, and in Australia we have Gumtree. I guess the equivalent would be Craigslist and eBay and Reverb. And yeah, I just kind of pick up a lot of stuff, and I, like a lot of people, hunt around for deals and always keep my eyes open for stuff. And I mean, one of my favorite guitars ever, my PRS McCarty right there, I bought sight unseen on eBay because I saw one for a really good price and I had the money, and I was like, I've always wanted to try a McCarty, and I bought it and I took it out and it was incredible, and I still love that guitar. I've done so many gigs on that guitar, and that was a great example of buying a guitar used. I did buy my PRS single cut brand new, but it was when Guitar Center in the States were having this giant clear out on all their pre-2013 stock. So I kind of got it for a used price. I find, yeah, with guitars, because, you know, guitars each have their own character, hunting around and doing that can be a great way to just end up with a lot of gear. Same thing with my Soldano, my rectifier, everything you see in that rack, because you can't buy any of it new. But then you have brand new things like the Axe-Fx and the FM3 and the amplifier, and I guess the Neural Quad Cortex, which is coming out, or the GFI Specula Tempest, which is an amazing reverb and delay pedal. Even though I got that one secondhand, I would not hesitate to go and buy that thing new just because it was so good, and there's nothing out that's come out before it that can kind of do the thing that it does. Or the Eventide H9, that was another brand new purchase that I made. So yeah, I just like to buy stuff. And all right, on to some more questions. The PRS HFS pickups are not bad. I have changed them in both of my custom 24s. My green custom 24 has a Duncan JB and Jazz, and my blue one has a Duncan Custom 5. I love the Custom 5. Very, very cool voicing. Very kind of like open and airy sounding pickup. I don't think the HFS sounds bad. It's just like not my favorite pickup ever. I think the other pickups that I've got in there suit that guitar. But of course I would think that because they're the pickups that are in there and I don't hate them. And kind of like I've said before on this channel, you know, if if you don't hate the sound of your pickups, just leave them in there. You know, it's only if you really, really, really isolate the fact that it's probably the pickups that you don't like, then change them. And this is a good question. I'm just jumping all over the place. My first rig. This is a pretty cool thing because my first rig was a Zoom 707, the original one, with like an Erlewine laser copy. So it kind of looked like a Steinberger. I have that somewhere in storage. I need some tea. I'll pull that one out. I need to find it over the week. I'll pull that one out and maybe do a video with it, and maybe pull the 707 out and try to make some sounds with my first rig. Anyone keen to hear? And on that note, the Zoom made lots of really cool sounds. Like it had this like stepped phaser, it had crazy flanges, over the top effects. But that thing really kept me interested in playing guitar. And when guitar, you know, when you start off and there's this massive learning curve and it hurts to play, just being able to hit an open string and hear a cool sound was, I think, a really important part of my development. It really made me appreciate effects. So very, very important. Talking about tips for playing on that note, how would I recommend somebody progress on the instrument. I have talked about this here a little bit before. I obviously teach guitar for a living, so I spend a lot of time doing this with people. Honestly, you cannot substitute having a good, focused, discipline practice plan and knowing what you want to practice before you sit down to do it. If you just sit down and go, oh, cool, I'm going to now become an amazing guitar player, it's really easy to get discouraged. And if you can, find yourself a teacher or a mentor or a buddy who you can bounce ideas off. I think that's something that's so overlooked. We always think of the guitar as this personal pursuit, that is dominated by these geniuses on the instrument, when that's not really the case. I mean, look at an amazing player like Steve Vai and how much he credits taking lessons with Joe Satriani, for example, and all the great players that Joe Satriani taught as well. But yeah, finding someone or some resource that can really help you develop what you want to develop and to kind of, really cultivate your strengths and, maybe encourage you not to worry too much about the things that aren't your strengths. Having a really good practice plan, keep a journal, all of this stuff, people have kind of figured it out for a long time. It's just about putting in the right framework around you so that you can achieve what you want to achieve and knowing what you want to achieve. Maybe you don't know what you want to achieve. Maybe you just want to make cool sounds. That's fine as well. So that is such a kind of deep question. But at the end of the day, guitar and music is something you inherently do. So just keep playing. That's the most important thing. A few more little questions. Playing guitar solos live on the neck pickup. This is something I do. I don't know where I developed it. It just seems like that's the thing you do when you play rock music. You're on the bridge pickup and you're kind of chugging away, and then you flick over to the neck pickup because it sounds fat and smooth and really good higher up. That's basically become a reflex for me. On my single cut, the switch is up here. I'm a little bit more used to that, but it just kind of seems like everyone does that. And, sometimes it makes sense not to switch to the neck pickup on something if you really want to kind of screaming bend up high. But I think because the neck pickup is basically positioned differently, obviously, and you're going to change the inherent tone of the notes that you're kind of pulling out there, it really sounds nice to have that attenuated high end when you have a lot of high end present in these high notes of the guitar. That's kind of the way I think about it. Speaking about the PRS stuff as well, have I checked out the Hollow Body SE? I haven't played one yet. I saw one in a music store the other day and it looked pretty impressive from what I could tell. I still, like I've said before, it's one of my bucket list guitars is to get a core hollow body at some point, and kind of just waiting for the right one to come along. I think the right one has come along and I ummed and ahed about it and let it go. I spoke about that on a Q&A a couple of weeks ago. But the SEs look really cool. I would be pretty keen to try one out. And if you're in Perth and you've got one and you want to loan me one, kind of like Ray, legend, let me borrow this one for a little while. It doesn't even have to be for a couple of weeks. Let me borrow it for an hour and I can do a little demo video with it. That sounds pretty cool. And all the clips I've heard with them sound great as well. So the PRS SE stuff in general, I think, is absolutely fantastic and hard to beat in its price range. So I'm sure the hollow body is really good. No love for the JCM 900 dual reverb. You know what? Don't have a lot of experience with one. I do have one of the JCM 900 Mark IIIs. It's okay. I've had a JCM 900 dual reverb as a backline amp before, I'm pretty sure, and it was okay. Maybe I just haven't played the right one. Maybe I need to get one. I need to get it in the studio and I need to demo it. So that goes on the long list of Marshalls I need to demo along with the JVM and a whole bunch of other stuff. All right, well, we're almost at the end of this Q&A. This was a fun one. The shirt I had on last week was a gift given to me by one of my friends who visited CERN in Switzerland. So yeah, if you're familiar with your standard model particle physics and the Higgs boson, that's the equation that's happening there. The physics nerd within really likes wearing that thing because people go, what language is that in? It's like, it's in math, man. All right, and I think that's it. we're at the end. Oh, no, there's a big question that I didn't get to. Acoustic guitars and finding the right acoustic guitar for you. The number one piece of advice I can give you with acoustic guitars, way more than electric guitars. Like, I would not hesitate to buy a PRS sight unseen. I've done it before. They're super consistent. You know, they know what they're doing with electrics. A bunch of other companies do the same thing. But acoustic guitars are very, very much, they're like individual things. I have played two really great high-end acoustics with a difference in serial number of 1 in a store before. I used to own a Maton 808, the little Tommy Emmanuel style guitar. That one actually got stolen years ago, which was a real bummer because I loved that thing. And one of the local stores here, when I was looking for an acoustic, I played two 808s, and like I said, the serial number differed by 1. I sat there and I played one and I played the other, and I sat there for about an hour doing that, and they both sounded markedly different. Same brand of strings, like I said, right next to one another in the production line. I even tuned them both to like an open D chord, and I was sitting there strumming them back and forth, and I preferred the one that I ended up buying quite a lot. It was a little bit more balanced, it was a little bit louder, it was a little bit easier to play. It's just amazing how, you know, when you think about how kind of inconsistent wood can be, or maybe inconsistent manufacturing processes can be, or how fickle guitars can be to those small variations. My point being that if you're trying to find the right acoustic guitar for you, go and play a bunch of acoustic guitars. I know the world is not really in the position at the moment where you want to go out and you want to touch a bunch of other things that other people have been touching. But yeah, that is really the best way to choose an acoustic, in my opinion. Thanks so much for watching this Q&A. It was a very enjoyable one, as always. If you have questions for next week, let me know in the comments. Ask me anything you like, and I'll do my best to get to them. Until then, I'm going to finish my cup of tea. I have a show tonight, so I'm going to restring some of my guitars and do a little bit of practice, and I will see you guys on the other side. Thanks for watching.